A rising number of former footballers are being diagnosed with dementia. Here's just 11 of the legendary names who have been diagnosed with it, including 5 of England's 1966 World Cup winning team.
And it hasn't just affected older players. Former Premier League striker Dean Windass was only 54 when he was diagnosed with stage 2 dementia last January. Now, he believes it's a direct result of all those years repeatedly heading footballs. And Dean, as you can see, joins us now. He's also with his fiancée, Kerry, and our very own Dr. Hilary. Good morning to all three of you. You were alarmed when I had this prop with me. You said, I'm not that old. It would never have been one of these heavy leather balls, would it, that you were heading? No. But we were talking about the World Cup winners there. Nobby Stiles, whose son John is a friend of yours. Nobby, what did use this kind of ball, and he did suffer from dementia, and that's how you ended up getting a scan. Yeah, well, John obviously asked me about a year and a half ago, and I obviously declined, and I says, no, I'm not interested really to find out. And then he was expressing about the football families, a lot of people, ex-footballers who've passed away, and then he just says, look, it might help a lot of people, especially families. So in terms of research, and then so I was sort of a guinea pig to go into this scan machine. It sounds like you were nervous about doing it. Yeah, well, there's a lot of footballers I was saying now go do it, and they won't do it because they don't want to know the outcome. I wish I wouldn't have gone in it now, but it's happened, and now. Wish you hadn't done this. Yeah, I wish I. Yeah, because then I wouldn't have known, would I? And it would be better not to know. Yeah, it'd be better not to know, and. You know, David May, a friend of mine, I keep telling him to go in and he won't go in because he don't want to know. And so what did they say to you? Well, when I got in the scan machine, then they asked me to... They rang me up, actually, and they says, we've got your results. So I says, well, why can't you tell me on the phone? They went, no, I want to do it over a Zoom. Gosh. So I panicked then. I rang John and I went, why are you not telling me on the phone? Well, just tell me. And then, obviously, I got Kerry set up the laptop because I'm not very good at things like that. And they said, right, this is the diagnosis. It's very mild. There's nothing to worry about at this stage. It could be 5 to 10 years when you're like this. But how long? 5 years is quite soon. 5 to 10 years that it could develop, you know, to bigger stages. So it wasn't the news that I wanted. I was scared, Dad. I was scared. Of course I was. Are you experiencing anything at the moment in terms of memory loss? No, well, I do forget a lot of things, of course, but Kerry runs everything for me. I've got to say, at a certain age, everybody does. Yeah, I'm 56 now, of course, we forget names and, you know, forget things and this, that and other, but, you know, I don't know if I'm overthinking subconsciously, but Kerry will ask me every day, do you know what you're doing this week? You know, blah, blah, blah. And Kerry, have you, before the scan and since the scan, so that was about a year and a bit ago, wasn't it? Had you thought, oh, it'd be fine, he'll go in, it'll be nothing, it's just, you know, he's just helping his mate out, you know, for a bit of research? Or were you actually thinking, because it's often a partner who might notice behavioural change.
I never noticed anything prior to the scan. And we didn't really think too much about it, did we? And then when he went and he got the results, we still never... We kind of buried our head in the sand, I think, a bit, didn't we? We had a laugh and joke about it. I said, well, it was a bad day, but it was a good day because they found a brain. They found your brain? They found my brain. I was absolutely delighted. And all my mates were like, God, I didn't even know you had a brain. But we never really discussed it between each other. We don't really speak about it to each other. No. I speak to my friends and Dean obviously speaks to his, but I've never actually sat down and said to him, how do you feel about it? You know? Don't ask him now. No, because when she does ask me, I just say, yeah, I'm fine, I'm all right. You know, and the reason why, obviously, that I didn't come out and speak about it a year and a half ago, nearly over that now, is because obviously my eldest son's a professional footballer. My youngest son was a professional footballer, but plays amateur football now. You know, I didn't want my mum to worry. I didn't want my kids to worry. You know, I didn't want their family to worry. So it was. Do you think differently about them and the football they're playing and the risks they may be running heading the ball? Yeah, Ed, it's not just football matches, it's training every day. Repetition of heading balls every day. I did it for 20 years. Do you know, I don't know if Josh does head it every day. I've actually said, he's not a renowned header of a ball anyway, really. But, you know, I say to him, try not to head the ball, but you've got to head the ball in a game. Of course you have. Of course. He scored the goal at Wembley by heading the ball. Do you know, so you've got to head it, but can they... You know, minimise it in training. Can I just say, he is not the only member of the family who scored a goal at Wembley. Yeah, but mine was better than his, and mine was a volley. Mine wasn't an header. Bristol City, 2000. Yeah, I know, yeah. We couldn't afford the footage, it's too expensive. It gets boring now anyway. So what is your... Sorry, I mean,
a short football moment. What is your best football moment of your career?
Him scoring the goal at Wembley.
That was the one?
Yeah.
Took you up to the Premiership?
No, me scoring the goal at Wembley was fantastic, but when Josh scored, it felt more important to me than mine did.
Your son scored.
But mine was 16 years ago.
Yeah, but that was more important than your goal.
Yeah, because I was at Wembley 2 years ago and he did it in the last minute of the extra time. It was the last kick of the game.
Amazing.
Before we ask for Dr. Hillary's view on what the future might hold, Kerry, can I just ask you, has life changed? I know you say you don't talk about it emotionally, but are there changes that you've made to your life with Dean because of the diagnosis? And what are those changes?
Well, I actually run Dean's diary for him now, and we get together and I said, do you know exactly what you're doing this week? Let me make sure that you've got everything in your diary. So I basically run his life.
Yeah. And in terms of health and so on, whilst you say you wish you hadn't found out, are there things that you can now do to maybe offset it? Because now you do know there is some power in that. You can sleep better, you can eat better. We don't know. Dr. Hillary's here to tell us what you should be doing. I mean, are you going to change your lifestyle to give you the greatest advantage?
Well, Kerry obviously got her own beauty salon and I'd go to the gym every day. I try to keep myself active.
So, Dr. Hillary, what do you make of this? I mean, he wishes he didn't know, but now he does. What's the prognosis and what are the breakthroughs in science?
I can completely understand the mindset. The more tests we do as doctors, the more we find. And sometimes we can worry people unnecessarily. Now, it's quite good to know that there's an early stage change that's going on there. And we know that professional footballers are 3.5 times more likely than other people to develop some forms of dementia because they think heading the ball. It's not due to lifestyle. It's due to heading the ball, balls coming at speed. And the Football Brain Health Fund is helping players who are affected by dementia and their families right now. So that's something that has changed for the better. So they look after people going forward with all sorts of care at home and in terms of getting treatment. In terms of other people with dementia, we know that the risk factors, age is one. Your risk doubles every 5 years after the age of 65. There's a genetic risk for a few people, not for very many. Lifestyle does have an influence for people. So high cholesterol, diabetes, which isn't controlled, high blood pressure.
So are there things that we can do?
Yeah,
there are
40%.
You don't want to feel like you're just being held hostage by this inevitability. You want to feel, don't you, Dean?
There are
things that you can do now.
Lots of modifiable factors. Yeah, I mean, things like hearing loss can be corrected, loneliness and isolation, which he's never going to have with Kerry sitting looking after him. So lots of things you can do yourself.
And scientific breakthroughs are also happening.
Of course, we know that factor loss injections have been associated with lower risk of dementia. We've also got statins, which can help by reducing cholesterol levels. All of these things can help.
Isn't the thing, though, kind of Dean and Kerry, I mean, and I kind of understand this in a way. My mum got dementia in her 60s. She's now had it for 20 years. You never know what's going to happen in life. You don't know what's going to happen.
No.
But the one thing it does make you think is that every day now you're going to enjoy and make the most of with your partner, with your kids, because you don't know how long it will be. So take it now. Yeah,
I'm that character anyway, where I go out, I go to see my mates in the pubs. You can have a laugh and joke about it now. And first time it ever came out, and all that, everybody was worried because they thought I'd been dragged into this scam machine. I got volunteered to go into this scam machine. And first day I walked in the pub and I said I'd forgot my wallet, which was a great thing, because everybody was like,
they can never blame you now.
You can never blame me for it. So I was trying to have a bit of banter about it, but like at the start with the conversation, I didn't want Kerry to worry. I was a bit worried, of course I was, because it's not the news that I wanted, but I've got to deal with it. I've got to get on with it. And, you know, as I say, how long's a piece of string? Listen, you've got to enjoy your life.
Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Dean. Thank you for talking about that. It'll make a lot of difference to a lot of our viewers.
Really interesting.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Hillary, too.
If you've been affected by any of those issues, of course, you can go to our advice and support site at itv.com/helplines.